Hey, welcome folks. Well, this is the end of a 5-video module series. Oh, excuse me, you're new to the channel? Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Bob from bobsplumbingvideos.com. In 2015, I put together a 5-video module series aptly named the No-Brainer Home Plumbing Inspection Checklist. And it's essentially my method for doing a walkthrough plumbing inspection in my customers' homes. Strictly designed to point out small problems before they turn into big problems. Then you got to call a guy like me and you got to get the wallet out. You know what I mean? Anyway, for the ones you haven't seen, I will leave links down below this video and also in the cards up above. This particular video is about bathroom plumbing maintenance, bathroom plumbing tips, if you will. Sit back, relax, watch this video, learn, so you don't have to call a guy like me, and I will catch you at the end of this video. Hey, welcome folks. Bob here from bobsplumbingvideos.com. On this channel, I provide free plumbing tutorials for people who don't want to call a plumber. No scientific data, no fancy chemical breakdown of the materials I use in these videos, just common sense solutions to everyday plumbing problems. After all, folks, you shouldn't have to take out a mortgage to be able to afford a plumber. If you're new to the channel, I highly recommend you subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit that bell notification so you'll be notified of when I post a new video. Now, let's get into this video. Oops, I almost forgot. Get lost. Welcome to the No-Brainer Home Plumbing Inspection Checklist, a simple strategy to identify and avoid a plumbing emergency. The bathroom. As we discovered in the kitchen, we also have several areas in the bathroom that are cause for concern. Faucets, and that would include widespread faucets as well as center set style faucets. Shut-off valves and supply tubes. Drain pipes. Toilets. Tub and shower valves. Faucets. Where to look? I look for leaks around the handles, leaks from the base of the spout, especially on the widespread style faucets where you have individual holes and individual components, because if they do leak out onto the countertop, they will migrate, the water will migrate all around the countertop. And if you do have laminate countertops, this is not a good thing. Leaks from the spout, which would indicate an internal problem with the faucet, meaning when you turn the handles off, water should stop dripping. If it continues to drip, you pretty much have two choices. You're either going to call a professional in to take care of it, or if you're handy, by all means, go ahead and repair that faucet. And finally, I look for leaks from the base of faucets, especially the center set style faucets, where water can get underneath the base and migrate through the mounting holes of the sink, especially if it wasn't sealed correctly. Why you should care? Well, knowing where to look can uncover minor leaks before they turn into plumbing inconveniences, or worse yet, plumbing emergencies. This could save you hundreds or even thousands in unnecessary plumbing repairs. Let's check it out in this technical timeout video. Hey, welcome folks to the bathroom section. Like the kitchen, I'm going to walk you through all the different things that could possibly go wrong. Again, I'm going to mention, faucet seats, stems, etc. And what I did, folks, I actually included the same videos in some of these presentations because a lot of this is repetitive. If it's a faucet in the kitchen or a faucet in the laundry room or a faucet in the bathroom, pretty much it's the same procedure. So again, after each explanation, we'll do the technical timeout, and then you can have a better understanding of what I just explained to you. So let's move on, and I'll see you at the end of the presentation. Okay, in this example, we're looking at a center set style faucet, and that simply means it's all one body. It's based on a 4-inch center setting, meaning the sink has holes 4 inches on centers, and these faucets are typically designed to fit exactly in 4-inch center sinks. And what's cool about this one that I'm showing you, this is 2 handles, but I noticed that when I turn the water on this one, we're actually getting a leak, and this is exactly what I'm looking for. I don't know if you can see that water leaking out. You see the way that water is just spewing out and it's going all over the sink. Now, if that faucet is not sealed, that water is going to go right down below the faucet, right down below the mounting hole. So These are the things I look for when I do this inspection. Again, this is a center set style faucet. They're all over the place. I see them every day. And while I'm here, let me show you. This is the rod for the pop-up. And the pop-up simply is, when I pull the rod up, it should stop the water up. And in this case, you can see it does. And what I'll do is, when I walk into a bathroom, what I'll do is I'll actually let water in the sink, do my inspection for the rest of the bathroom, and see if we lose any water. If we do lose water, I'll know that there's a gasket in here that's probably in need of replacement, or the stopper basically is not working. Some of them have gaskets, some of them are basically tapered hard metal seals, and sometimes they just lose their ability to hold the water. And I'm going to let the water out. There you go. So there we go. There is a center set style faucet, and we will explore some widespread faucets. And there you go. So these are the things I look for. I'm really glad that we happen to see that water leaking, and you can see it's all over here and left unattended. That could possibly go under the faucet, onto the counter, and just be one big inconvenience. Okay, and here we have an example of a widespread faucet. This is a widespread lavatory faucet, and what I look for is leaks coming out from below the handles when you turn the water on. I also look for leaks coming from around the base of the nozzle. Again, I will turn the water on, look for water coming out of here. That'll migrate on top of the sink here, and eventually it'll work its way down behind on top of the counter here. And if this seam is not filled up, that laminate will eventually become compromised. I also am going to pull up on the pop-up stopper, and I'm going to make sure that that's going to hold water. And I'll usually do that in the beginning of my inspection. I'll fill that sink up with water and do the rest of my inspection just to make sure the water is holding. But again, these are things I look for when I am doing my home inspections. All right, folks, I want to show you a couple of examples of why water may be leaking through the nozzle. At the same time, I'll show you why water seeps up out of the handles and onto the deck. First, I'm going to show you this traditional faucet stem. And that works simply, the on and off function, in and out. And that works with a rubber washer, which sits up against a faucet seat. And the faucet seat is located inside the faucet. You really don't see this. And if the washer is in good condition and the seat is in good condition, we have a watertight seal. Often, though, you'll have a seat that's all cut up and it's all corroded, or you'll have a washer that's worn out, it's dried out, it gets hard like a rock, and that will cause water to seep through your nozzle when you turn the handles off, and that's going to need attention. Another reason water may be leaking up onto your deck through the handles is these O-ring washers. These O-ring washers wear out, and they will cause water to seep up onto the deck. Now, let me show you this. I'm going to pull out this stem, and there is another washer in here. There's another O-ring washer. So O-ring washers are the way they prevent water from getting out and up through the handles. And when those O-ring washers get dried out, they will cause water to leak. So that's one example in a traditional style stem. Now, bear in mind, stems come in many shapes, sizes, forms, and many manufacturers. This is just one. This is not, you're not going to see this particular brand all over. It's just one example. And another example I want to bring up is the ceramic cartridge. Now, ceramic cartridge is just what it says. There are two ceramic discs in there. And as you see me turn this, that's on, that's off, water on, water off, water on, water off. Sometimes dirt will get in there, debris will get in there, little shavings will get in there, and that will cause the faucet to leak when you turn the handle off. And the other reason you're going to get the water up and through the handles are the O-rings. These O-rings get compromised, they get dried out, and that's what's going to cause the water to leak up and coming out of here. There are actually more O-rings inside the stem. If I pull this stem out here, that you're going to see that there are more O-rings in there. But I just wanted to give you those examples of why a faucet may leak from a nozzle, and again, why the water leaks up and out the handles. By identifying these small problems now, your chances of a plumbing emergency can be greatly reduced. Let's review. We looked at faulty stems, faulty packing nuts, and or O-ring washers. We looked at faulty or worn spouts. We looked at faulty washers, seats, stems. We even checked out a ceramic cartridge. And we also noted missing or worn sealant from the base of your center set style faucet. Shutoff valves and supply tubes. Kitchen and bathroom sink shutoff valves are rarely ever used. When they're needed, the first person who attempts to use them, your plumber, will cause them to leak. Folks, this happens to me all the time. I go to make a repair, I go to shut the valves off, and because they've been in there for 20, 30 years plus, they just start to leak uncontrollably from the stems. I ultimately end up changing them. I install new emergency water shutoff valves. Now, if you're going to do this yourself, be aware, take a bucket under there with you, because as soon as you go to turn the handle and the water starts pouring out of the stems, you're going to panic. But it's one of them things that happen. These valves are under there, nobody touches them, and the first person to put their hands on them is the culprit. Why you should care? Well, faucet supply tubes are under constant water pressure, and if they decide to burst when you're not home, be prepared to get out your wallet. Folks, these things will break generally when you're not home or in the middle of the night when the water pressure is at its highest. These types of plumbing emergencies can be very costly. Where to look? I look at worn packing nuts, dried out packing, especially on the emergency water shutoff valves, and I also look for leaks where the supply tubes connect to the water supply valves and or the faucet. Let's check it out in the video. All right, and there you get a shot of an emergency water shutoff valve. And these are the valves that you often go in and you go to close them, and they will start to leak uncontrollably around the packing nuts here. They will leak down. And when that happens, you can attempt to tighten this, but more often than not, the packing inside of here is so dried out that you'll tighten and tighten and tighten, and actually nothing will happen. And these are the compression nuts going up. This is the tube going up to the faucet. This is going right up to the faucet, and this is a solid copper version of a basin supply. And I will show you an example of a flexible stainless steel version. This is, to me, is a premium way of doing things, using the solid copper supply. But you're not going to see that too often today. Everything's flexible stainless steel. So let me move on, show you an example of a flexible stainless steel supply. And maybe we'll do that on top of the bench. I'll put two of them side by side. I'll give you a comparison. And again, give you my opinion. But these are the valves you have to watch out for. Often they're in here for 25, 30 years. Then I come and I turn them and they start to leak uncontrollably, and I ultimately end up changing these valves. So there you go, folks. All right, let's check out an emergency water shutoff valve. We have these under our kitchen and bathroom sinks, and they've been in there for 20, 30 years. First person who comes in and touches them and goes to shut them, they start to leak uncontrollably from the bottom. This is normal. And in the past, we would just go and try to tighten this clockwise in an effort to get it to stop leaking. But because everything in here is so dried out, we would then go in and back off the stem. Actually, after we shut the water off, don't forget, folks, we have to shut the water off before we do something like this. And you're going to see that there is a nylon washer in here. It's a backup washer that actually is backup for this rubber washer. If I can get it out to show you, there is that rubber washer. There's that rubber washer in there, and that rubber washer gets so dried out that it can't do its job. It actually just cannot stop the water. So you would go in there and put some Teflon packing or graphite packing, but in today's world, I would tell you, just go change the valve. Don't play around with it. Have a professional come in. If you're handy, by all means, go out and buy a new emergency water shutoff valve, and you are going to be back in business. So that's this type of valve. If you don't have this type of valve, you might have the old-fashioned globe valve with the adapter in it to put the basin supply on. These are a little more fixer-friendly, meaning that you can back off this packing nut, replace that rubber washer in there with some graphite or Teflon packing, tighten up this nut again, and you're back in business. And then it's just a matter of deciding whether you're going to use the flexible basin supply. In this case, this is a flexible supply. You have the compression part of it, and then you have the part where it's crimped onto the hose. This is where I look for leaks, and then you have the other end, which actually goes up to the faucet. And this will work as well on the emergency water shut-off valve faucet as well. This goes on here like this. Again, these are things that I look at when I'm doing my inspection. I'm looking for all those connections. And if you don't have the flexible stainless steel versions, you may be fortunate enough to have the solid copper versions. And again, we'll be looking for signs of leaks where the compression fittings are. And we're also looking for signs of leaks where it connects up to the faucet. And that's it on emergency water shutoff valves that I typically find under kitchen and bathroom fixtures. Okay, folks, let me just bring up one item that I advise you to get rid of if you do have. This is a nylon braided supply tube used for hooking up faucets, used for hooking up toilets. And I can tell you from experience that these braided nylon hoses, I've actually seen these crimps. I've actually seen the hose just blow right out of the crimp. And this happens in particular on hot water, on the hot water side when they're hooked up to faucets. Now this happens to be one for toilet supply. But folks, if you have these are accidents waiting to happen. And if given a choice, I would tell you to go either with the braided stainless steel versions. This is for a basin, but they make them for a toilet. This is what's most popular today. But you know, in my world, I'm always old school, and I like the solid copper version of a basin or a toilet connector. But the fact of the matter is, what you're probably going to find out there on the shelves are the stainless steel versions. So once again, folks, if you have this braided nylon version, please do yourself a favor, get rid of it. And so that's all I have to say about nylon connectors. Don't use them. Modern methods for connecting faucets have become more user-friendly. As a result, these methods leave more room for failure by virtue of their design. By performing this inspection, you'll identify minor leaks before they turn into plumbing emergencies. Folks, when I started, the connectors were solid brass pipe. Then they evolved into solid copper connectors. Today, everything's flexible stainless steel, flexible nylon or plastic, and there's just more chance for leaks to happen. It's plain and simple. Let's review. We looked at faulty leaking shutoff valves, and we also looked at leaking plastic or braided stainless steel supply tubes. Folks, a note here, if you have a plastic supply tube, do yourself a favor and get rid of it. It is an accident waiting to happen. I often see them just blow out from where they're crimped onto the end connections, and they can cause a lot of water damage. Drain pipes. When the water drains from your sinks, it travels through a series of waste tubing, iron and or plastic pipe. Why you should care? Well, we tend to forget the waste lines below the sink because everything is neatly tucked away under our bathroom cabinets. I often see high-end bath cabinets destroyed by water damage caused by unchecked leaking drain pipes. Where to look? I look for leaks from the pop-up waste assembly, and the pop-up simply is that little assembly where you pull up the rod and the stopper is supposed to go down so you can fill up a bowl of water. But oddly enough, a lot of times they don't even work. I look for leaks from the waste tubing. The waste tubing is simply very thin gauge tubing, and over time it'll pit and it'll rot. And I finally look for leaks from the P-traps, where the P-traps are screwed onto the waste line coming out of the wall. Let's check it out in this video. All right, here we are under a bathroom sink, and you can see that pop-up assembly going right through the bottom of the sink. I'm looking up at that gasket for any signs of water. Then I'll work my way down, rub my hand along the tubing. If I feel water, I know there's trouble brewing, and the best way to test for this, folks, is to fill the sink up all the way to the top, let it go, and if there are any weak spots, you're going to find it. And in this particular case here, you're going to see that this P-trap that we're coming down to, this tubular trap, is severely pitted. let me back up here. And this trap is really, really pitted bad. There you're going to see that die cast nut, which generally I find cracked open and leaking. But this P-trap is severely, severely pitted. And I would say to my customer, if their trap was in this condition, it's time for a new trap. And you can actually see that where it gets back into the PVC waistline coming out of the back of the cabinet. And also, I want you to note the 2 emergency water shutoff valves. And in this case, they have premium rigid copper connectors going up to the sink, which is what I always like to use. Again, I'll rub my hands around the packing nuts, around the handles. I'll turn the handles, make sure there are no leaks. But here is a view of what I see on a daily basis underneath, most of my homeowners' bathroom sinks. And these are the things I look for when performing this inspection. All right, here we are under another sink, and this is a wall-hung sink. And I'm really glad I got a chance to show you this shot. And we're going to get a good look at the pop-up here. If you can see that pop-up coming out the back there, that is the pop-up waste assembly. So when you pull the rod up, the stopper goes down. And when you push the rod down, the stopper should go up. So I'm looking for leaks here. I'll fill up the sink. I'll test for leaks here. And again, as you can see here, we have 2 emergency water shutoff valves. And again, the premium copper connectors, rigid copper connectors. But I'm going to be turning the valves, see if I see any signs of water coming from the packing nuts. Same thing on both sides. This is what I'm looking for, folks, when I'm doing the inspection. Back here to the tubing, as you can see, there's a threaded tailpiece in here. This is threaded into the T. This often cracks and leaks down. And as we work our way down, again, you'll see the die cast nut. Here is a die cast nut. And you're going to see that P-trap. And on this P-trap also, you're going to see signs of pitting. There are some serious signs of pitting here, right on this P-trap, right here. And it may be time to change this P-trap as well. And as I back the camera up here, you're also going to see, emergency water shutoff valves. Now these valves here shut off all the hot and cold water supply to the entire bathroom here. So if I shut this cold water off and the hot water off, I cut off all water to the toilet, to the shower, and to the sink. And so this is just another example of stuff I check when I'm doing my inspections. A lot of stuff here, folks. There's a lot of things that I find, believe it or not. And this is what this inspection is all about. All right, folks, here we are underneath yet another sink. And these are the things I look for. I'm looking for water around here where this pop-up comes through the sink. And I always fill up my sink to the tippy top. I pull the plug. And as I pull the plug, I come down the tubing here. And I'm looking for all sorts of nifty little leaks coming out of these nuts here. And a lot of times these nuts are actually cracked in half. And here's the other nut on the other end of this tubular trap. And as you can see, we have the emergency water shutoff valves in the back there. So again, I'm going to be putting my hands around the compression nuts of the supply tubes going up to the faucet, around the packing nuts of the emergency water shutoff valve. And I'm just doing my investigative work here. And I just wanted to, what I did was I left everything inside of the sink. And this is typically what I find. I mean, people keep a lot of stuff under their sinks. And what happens is they don't realize that water sometimes is leaking down there and they don't see that. So that's where I come in. I point out all the weak points and hopefully they'll want to make the corrections. But at least I document it and tell them, listen, you got trouble brewing here. So you might want to attend to it. And just another example of under the sink. All right, folks, here we go. Electrolysis in the bathroom. Now, although I find this problem mainly under kitchen sinks, there are occasions where I do go under someone's bathroom vanity, and this is what I find. Now, this is from a recent job I did. Actually, this job was done this April 2015. And I actually had to remove the cabinet to tend to a different leak. And when I got under the cabinet, this is what I found. And this homeowner didn't even realize this was leaking on the bottom of their cabinet. As a matter of fact, it leaked so bad that it destroyed the bottom of the cabinet. The cabinet was made out of flake wood, and it just bore a hole through the bottom of the cabinet. So this is a common thing between brass and iron. So in this case, we had the old-fashioned brass traps screwed onto this iron nipple, and you could just take a look at the damage. They were just completely rotted out. And what I did was I actually cut the rotten threads off in preparation to make a new connection. And I did that through use of a no-hub coupling, which actually converted to some tubular uh, a tubular P-trap that I was going to use to put back the vanity. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention because you'll usually see rust marks on the bottom of a cabinet. You look down the bottom of the cabinet. In this case, she had so much stuff under the cabinet. She didn't even realize it was leaking. And I had to remove all the, the stuff she was storing under there. And when I pulled it all away, there was a huge hole in the bottom of the cabinet. So again, electrolysis, it happens. This is another thing that I keep my eye on when I'm doing these inspections. I'm poking around under the kitchen sinks, the bathroom sinks, and it happens on laundry sinks too, folks. So there you go. Electrolysis, keep an eye out for it. Keep your cabinet neat and don't keep too much stuff under there so you'll be able to see the damage when it occurs. By taking an occasional look under your sink, you could spot a leak early enough and get it fixed fast before causing damage to your expensive cabinets. Let's review. We looked at corroded pop-up waste assemblies. We checked out cracked coupling nuts, dried out or missing gaskets, pitted and/or corroded chrome waste tubing. We also looked at leaks where the brass or chrome P-trap screws onto the galvanized waste pipe. Folks, with brass traps and galvanized pipe, we get a chemical reaction and that galvanized pipe does start to rot and blister over time. And we also checked out leaks where the tubular P-traps enter the main waste pipe coming out of the back of the cabinet vanity or either the back of your pedestal basin. Toilets. There are so many toilets available today that it would be impossible to cover each and every model in depth in this presentation. In spite of all the improvements made to modern toilets, each one of them is still equipped with a fill valve, a rubber flapper, and a tank handle. Let's check some of them out. Why you should care. Folks, the almighty toilet is an essential part of our everyday lives. Without it, I dare say, we'd be in serious trouble. Where to look? I look for leaking flappers, running fill valves, broken tank handles, leaks around the toilet base, leaks between the toilet tank and the bowl, leaking cold water supply tubes. Let's take a technical timeout and check out this video. All right, folks, here we are looking inside of a toilet tank, and what I generally will do when I go into the bathroom to do the inspection, first thing I'll do is take the cover off. I'll put a few drops of food coloring in here, and then I'll go about the rest of the inspection in the bathroom. And then I will come back and I'll take a look in the bowl and see if that water has changed color. And if it does, it's telling me that that flapper is not holding water. But I'll flush the toilet, make sure everything's doing what it's supposed to do. I'll wait for it to fill up. I'll wait for it to shut. Again, if I find water inside the bowl has turned color, when I'm ready to complete my bathroom inspection, that's kind of telling me the flapper is bad. But I'll also check the chain. I'll make sure that the fill valve shuts off. And I'll look at other items on the toilet, such as, I will come down here as I flush, and I'm looking for signs of water here where the tank bolts to the bowl. Sometimes that gasket in here will get compromised, and I will see signs of water leaking out here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reposition the camera. We'll go down below and I'll show you where else I look, where actually the tank is bolted on, and sometimes water will seep through those bolts. So let's get underneath this toilet and see if we can find anything. All right, as you can see, I also look at where the water supply is feeding the toilet tank. I'm going to go under the emergency water shutoff valve, put my hand around here, turn the handle, and make sure I don't get any extreme leaking out of here. And as you can see in this case, this is my preferred method of hooking up a toilet tank. That's that solid chrome-plated connector. And let's take a look at some other possibilities. I'm also actually going to be looking around the floor area. And if you can see there, there's the bolt. Now, you can see the bolt that holds the tank and bowl down, and I'm going to flush. And what I do when I flush, I look for signs of water from around the base. Now, if there are signs of water coming out of the base here, that means that there is a problem brewing under the floor. And if you most certainly flush your toilet and you see water coming out the base of the bowl, there is a problem brewing, folks. So that's something that you're going to have to get a professional in for. No question about it. All right, folks, this is yet another area I look at. This is the bolt that's bolting the tank to the bowl. And on occasion, those things will leak. You'll actually see rusting water coming through the bottom of the bowl there, and you'll often find stains on the floor. So if that's the case, that tank has to be taken off. We have to get a set of new tank bolts and a flush valve gasket. And again, another thing I look for. There's a lot going on here, folks. So I encourage you to go through the process, locate these problems, and possibly avoid yourself a plumbing emergency. Okay, so let's review the toilet. What I do generally when I walk into a bathroom, first thing I'll do is I'll throw my food coloring into the toilet tank. I'll go about my inspection in the rest of the bathroom. Then I'll return to make sure none of the water in the bowl has turned color, which kind of tells me there's a compromise with the flapper or the flush valve. I'm also checking for signs of water between where the tank sits on the bowl. When you flush that, there is a gasket in there and sometimes water will seep out. Then I go down below, I check the integrity of the shutoff valve, make sure it holds 100%. I'm looking at the base of the bowl where the bowl sits on the floor. I want to make sure I don't see any water seeping out of there. And then finally, I check all the internal parts of the toilet tank, make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to. The tank handle, the flapper, the fill valve. I also check the position of the refill tube, make sure it's not shoved all the way down into the overflow tube, which will kind of mimic a leak. And basically, you have to realize that leaking toilets are a leading cause for high water bills. So you want to make sure that your toilet is in good working conditions. Otherwise, you're going to pay for it in your water bill. Let's review. We looked at leaks caused by faulty or misaligned toilet flappers. And folks, if you're putting that blue stuff inside your toilet tank, it looks pretty, but let me give you a little tip here. It's ruining all the rubber components. The rubber components will rot and just degenerate over time. So my tip to you is don't use that blue stuff. Besides, you know what? We as plumbers hate it because it stains our hands. We looked at why a fill valve will continue to run. We looked at broken tank lever handles, causes of leaks from the toilet base, causes of leaks between the tank and the bowl. Usually that's a gasket or the bolts. And we looked for leaking water supply tubes. Very common problems, folks. Tub and shower valves. Tub and shower valves come in many configurations: single lever, two-handled, three-handled, push-pull, etc. Let's take a look at a couple of most popular valves I run across in my everyday plumbing business. Why you should care: water will often leak through the handles and back into the wall without you ever realizing it. Left unchecked, this can cause serious damage quickly to your walls and possibly the floors below. Where to look? Look for water leaking out of the handles when the tub and or shower faucet is turned on, whether it be single, two, or three-handle shower bodies. I often see people turn the water on and water will leak from out of the handles into the tub. But what you don't realize is an equal amount of water is leaking back inside the wall. I also look for water leaking from the diverter stem of a three-valve shower body. If you have a three-valve shower body, hot, cold, and the handle in the middle controls the upper and the lower function of the shower body, I often see water pouring out of the center stem. And again, whatever you see leaking into your tub, an equal amount is leaking into the wall. Let's check it out in this technical timeout. Okay, here we have an example of a single lever shower faucet. And in this example, this faucet opens to the left. And I'm looking for signs of water coming out from below the handle here, because if I see water leaking here, I also know that water's getting back inside the wall or behind this fiberglass shower enclosure. So you got to be careful with this. If you see water leaking out of here, you can rest assured there is water getting back into the wall, and you want to get to that as soon as possible because you don't want to cause damage to your walls. Let's go ahead and take a look at some other examples. Okay, and here we have another example of a single lever shower faucet. And again, what I'm looking for when I turn the water on, and I turn this water on going to the left in this case, I'm looking for water coming out of here from between the handle where the cartridge is set in. If you see water leaking out of this part of your shower faucet, pretty much you can rest assured that an equal amount is going back inside the wall. So if I see water coming out of here, this cartridge needs attending to. And this is just another example of a single lever shower faucet that I look at and the process I go through when I do this inspection. All right, quickly, what I'd like to show you is the 2-valve shower body. You see you have a hot and cold air, and you have a nozzle, and that's a diverter nozzle. And the function of this nozzle simply is when you want water to come out of the shower head, you pull up on the lever on top of the nozzle there, and that in turn diverts the water up to the shower head. Now, a lot of times that doesn't happen. A lot of times it still comes out of the nozzle as well as the shower head. It comes out of both ends. And if that happens, that's telling me there's a problem with that nozzle, and I will take that nozzle off and I will either clean it or I'll actually have to replace it. So if you're pulling up on that lever and you're getting water out of both ends, that's indicating to me that there is a problem within this diverter nozzle. And one more item I wanted to show you guys when I do these inspections, I go to the trip waste plate there. That's the mechanism, the lever that I flip up on. I'll flip this up, and in turn, the water should hold inside the tub. So what I'll actually do is I'll put a little water in there, go about my inspection, and come back. And if I see that water seeping out, that's telling me I have to make an adjustment inside here, or possibly that plate needs to be replaced. So there you go, folks. 2-valve shower body with a pull-up diverter nozzle. There are plenty of these still in service. If you have one, I hope this little tip helped you out. Now let's move on to the almighty 3-valve shower and tub faucet. Okay, and here we are looking at the classic 3-valve tub and shower faucet. Many of these still around here in my neck of the woods, and they are very repairable. The only thing is here is if we run across one that absolutely we can't repair, by code, we're not allowed to put a 3-valve tub and shower faucet back. We must use a single lever pressure balanced shower body in its place, only because we have issues here with, many multiple family style homes here. And, there are scalding issues. And so we are required to put back an anti-scald type faucet. So if we run across a situation where we have to take these out, we most certainly have to replace them with a pressure balanced single lever shower body. But I know in other parts of the country, you can still retrofit with this type of a valve. The things I look for here are obviously the water when you turn on the handles, water leaking out of the handles. And for sure, I can guarantee you almost that whatever you see leaking out of the handles into the tub, there's an equal amount going back into the wall. And that'll also happen when you turn the tub and diverter nozzle, up or down. You'll have leaks from the nozzle, and that will indicate an internal problem with the faucet. I just note the defective tub caulk, just to let people know that they should clean that up, put some new caulking in there, because obviously water will get between the tub and the tile, work its way back into the wall, and that's the last thing you want to have happen. And that's pretty much it on 3-valve shower bodies. I mean, there are many of them still in service today. And as I said before, they're still very repairable. So if you have one, by all means, I suggest if it's leaking or giving you a problem, you should have it looked at, whether you want to do it yourself or call a pro in. But again, very repairable, very doable. And yeah, I mean, it's a classic, and I have nothing bad to say about the 3-valve tub and shower faucet. This is a very common problem I run across every day. Unfortunately, most homeowners don't seem to think it's a serious one. Left unchecked for long periods of time, the inside of the walls can become water damaged, causing tiles to loosen and possibly even fall off. Let's review. We looked at a few possible causes for water leaking out of the handles of your single, 2 or 3 handled tub and or shower faucet, and we also checked for a source of water leaking out of the diverter stem of a 3-valve shower body. So there you go, guys. This was the bathroom module. Now, together with the other modules that are down below this video and up above in the cards, don't forget to click on them. Watch them all. There's probably about 3.5 hours of content here. You'll have all the tools at hand to prevent a plumbing emergency from happening in your home. Trust me, you don't want to call a guy like me, folks, because then you're going to have to get out your wallet. Anyway, I want to thank you, as always, for stopping by. If you're not subscribed, please do so. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you know when I post a new video. Also, don't forget to check out one of these 2 videos here that are going to pop up to your right. One of them I suggested, and one of them YouTube thought you might like to see. Once again, folks, thanks very much for stopping by my channel. I look forward to seeing you again in my next video. Stay well, and as always, happy plumbing.